Hi, my name is Robert Leach. I'm a jack of all trades in the media business. I got my start as the Downers Grove Reporter, a newspaper that is, I believe, about 125 years old, a little bit long, maybe a little older than that. It's the oldest newspaper in Downers Grove. I started off my beat as a young 22-year-old writer covering sports. I actually was covering youth football to start, and that graduated into if I caught a car crash or a storm event or something that went on, and I got a great photo of it that always pleased the editor, and I'd bring that in, and that helped me move up the ranks. And I also took my time to learn more about how a newspaper functions from the bottom up. I wanted to know a little bit about advertising and marketing. I wanted to understand what the deadlines were, both in terms of editorial deadlines, sales deadlines, and so initially I went into this business focused on journalism, and grew that into an interest into publishing. So eventually, this is going on about 10 years. I had an opportunity to become the associate publisher of a Spanish language entertainment magazine, very much similar to, I guess, equated to a Rolling Stone type magazine, called Contigo, C-O-N-T-I-G-O, Contigo meaning with you in Spanish. And it was something that was very exciting because it was a startup. And we had no advertising and we had no direction. And so editorially, it was the Wild West. And, we were covering the entertainment business, which is in and of itself an exciting field to be a part of. We grew that. It lasted for 8 years, and that publication was sold. I then left Contigo after 8 years as its associate publisher to become the publisher and editor of Screen Magazine, a 30-year-old, at the time, a 30-year-old trade magazine for the film industry. In the process, at Screen, I had an opportunity to buy a newspaper, and I bought the Niles Bugle. And it served Park Ridge, Niles, and Morton Grove. And again, in order to make that newspaper successful, we took a different approach. I opened up a newspaper out of the basement of my home. I took the name The Bugle and worked out of my basement to create a new newspaper called the Romeoville Bugle. And that Romeoville Bugle turned into a Bolingbrook Bugle, and so on and so on. I guess when you have all this experience and things start running smooth, that's when I personally get bored or scared. I think things are going to go bad. So I decided, now's a good time to figure out what I'm going to do for the next 20 years of my life. And I looked in the mirror one day and saw all these gray hairs. And I don't know what happened about all these gray hairs. But, media has changed, a complete 360. It's completely different today than it was in 1983 when I came into the market. And believe me, that means that you have to be unique, you have to be marketable, and you have to have something that somebody else doesn't have. I had this idea in my head that if the Bugle and the Enterprise can be to Will County that like the Tribune is to the Chicagoland market, why can't a small reporter that puts things on video and covers video at the high school level be the local, I guess, ESPN, if you will, but local and extremely hyper-local? So that idea kept spinning in my head, but I didn't know how to make it happen. I guess I was taking my experience with Screen Magazine and understanding multimedia in film and the power of video with my journalism background and my newspaper background, and they just kind of crashed together. But I needed to know how to edit it. I needed to know how to shoot it. I needed a jolt, and I knew that. And it only took me a little while. I was staring at this stupid clock on my wall, and on this clock was a rooster. And I stood at this clock, and I looked at that rooster, and I said, I know that I can make that rooster successful if I just had the right marketing message. And it took a while to realize that that is the message. I'm going to be the rooster. And I built an entire, I just let it, and trust me, I was not drinking, by the way, when I did this. I wasn't drinking, I wasn't on any drugs. I was sober when I was doing this, but I really believed that you needed to have something that, one, kids could relate to, parents weren't afraid of, and was memorable. Something different, something that was so outrageous that other people would make fun of you. And that's what I found was the rooster. And believe it or not, the first time I went out, I had the South SW. I didn't even want to call it the Southwest Sports Nest. I just wanted swsportsnest.com. And I wanted the nest because that's where a rooster is at, right? And I began a column called On the Fence, because that's typically where you're going to find a rooster sitting on the fence. And I can tell you that the first time I went to a football game, and I tried this, the very first film that I did was for a football game. I walked out there and I said to the coach, I said, hey, he said, hey, Bugle Boy, hey, Bob, or whatever he called me. Well, it wasn't the Rooster, I can tell you that. I said, hey, Coach, can I grab an interview with you? Yeah, sure, you know, and of course I walk up, and the first thing I do is, and there's my camera, like a gunslinger, flipped out a camera, and the look in his face was like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And it was really caught the subject off guard, because who does that? You know, I mean, media, local media especially, wasn't doing that. They weren't bringing a camera and flipping it out and recording. You got to meet them on their terms. And those terms are shifting and changing every single day. And if I want to survive, I have to be a student, not of what I know, but of what I don't know. What I understand to be media has changed so much and so frequently, and is moving so quickly thanks to technology, that I'm a constant student. And so that's what you have to think about. Don't go into this business, please. Don't go into this business looking for a job. Don't ever look for a job. Create a job. Create a responsibility. Walk into an employer. I can't tell you how many people I've hired when they've walked in literally with their resume. Now remember, I'm a publisher that had at one time 75 employees every single day walking in there. Of that 75, 35 of them were editorial people. They would walk in, show me the resume, and I'd do this. Great. Now, tell me what I don't know, because there are a stack of resumes on my desk that all have this same piece of paper. And whether they came from Columbia College, the University of Illinois, they came from Northwestern, they came from Missouri, it didn't matter to me where they came from. What I wanted to know was, what are you going to bring to the newspaper that's different? What are you going to bring that's different? Because I don't need you to bring what I already have. I need you to bring me something different. So when you walk into an interview, my best advice to you is, and the thing that will impress guys like me, who ultimately be the people that are going to look at you and hire you, whether I know what I'm talking about or not, it's just because of the gray hair and the experience. Naturally, you move up in management or you move out. So if you walk into a newspaper, you're going to run into a guy like me, and the first thing you got to do is say, here's what I can do for your newspaper that's different. All I can tell you is I'm excited for you. The media business, the one thing that's not going to change is people want to hear a story. There's always a story to be had. There's always something to be told, and people need to hear it. And they are the first line of defense in the freedom of a nation. It's a huge responsibility that we have. And I wish you the best of luck as young students. I wish I could go back, and then there's a big part of me that says, boy, am I glad I don't have to go back, because you've got a lot of learning to do. And so do I. But I feel successful every single day because I've left a string of positive things behind me. I've had a great experience in media. I think it's going to go great places, and I wish you all the best.